Hi, this is Brian too in Warsaw, Poland. I want to continue talking about a few things. Basic defenses with this technology. When I talk about basic defenses, there are ways to defend yourself from the mind control. Now, there's really no way to defend yourself from the directed energy attacks. If they want to attack you, they can do that. Okay? But this is not about zapping people with directed energy. They know how to zap people with directed energy. This is all this torture, assassination, all the training, research, and development behind all of this is for the purposes of mind control. It's about mind control. It's not about zapping people with directed energy. You know, people need to understand they're using trauma to depattern your mind, to clear the neural pathways of your brain, so your brain can be repatterned with this fabricated and falsified stream of electromagnetic low frequency waves. That's what's happening to you. So what are some defenses? Well, for example, you can multitask. Multitasking is, thinking and doing multiple things at one time. Okay, so such as whistle while you work, singing and dancing, etc. Okay, writing a letter while listening to music, reading a book while listening to music, engaging in outdoor activities while you're listening to music, etc. Okay, it's called multitasking. It's creating multiple threads of thought. Okay, so when you create multiple threads of thought, there's no coherent pattern for them to download and integrate back into RNN data. They can't make sense of what they see on the screen. Remember, this is a supercomputer. Okay, so this is about establishing single coherent patterns of thought, which can be remotely measured and integrated back into RNN data. Well, they can't remotely measure what they can't see on their screen. Okay, so multitasking is very effective. And now there are other ways to defeat the technology, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But you need to understand that multitasking is very effective. You're not actually thinking and doing multiple things at one time. What you're doing is you're toggling back and forth between thoughts, and it's creating these additional electromagnetic energy inside the neural pathways of your brain. So there are multiple patterns, and they can't make sense of what they see on their screen. It's called multitasking. Another very effective defense to this technology is called spontaneity, being spontaneous. Everything they do is about patterns, about for example, mind control is based on decoding thought patterns. Organized stalking is based on choice reference patterns, etc., etc. Everything's based upon their ability to identify and develop coherent patterns of thought. Pattern recognition, that's what this is about. Okay? So being spontaneous, now I'm not talking about short-term planning. I'm talking about not planning at all. I'm talking about speed of thought actions in your life. Okay? So spontaneity is very effective to defeat this technology because they have to build patterns of your behavior and make sure that those patterns of your behavior are consistent with the electromagnetic emissions, the synaptic responses that they can see on their screen. That's how they build a cognitive model. Well, what they have to do in order to be able to achieve that is predict your choices in advance. Remote neural manipulation is based on their ability to predict and influence your reference choices during thought composition. I've said this before. That's it. The system, the supercomputer, whether you know it or not, is constantly predicting your choices. So, you need to understand spontaneity is very effective because when you think of something, as you're formulating your thoughts and preparing to act, that's called thought composition. Thought composition, okay? As you're formulating your thoughts and you're preparing to act, okay, the supercomputer is predicting those choices in advance. Why? So they can verify their technology. So you think about going to the grocery store, the supercomputer automatically reads that pattern of thoughts. It's okay, she's going to the grocery store. Okay, or he's going to the grocery store. Okay, so you get in your car and you're headed to the grocery store. Well, guess what? They got their organized stalkers behind you in a car, in a marker vehicle. They got their organized stalkers in front of you in a cheating trigger vehicle. Okay, they got outlier vehicles and advanced vehicles, a command vehicle behind them. They've got people waiting for you at the grocery store, at the entrance of that grocery store. And guess what? They got somebody on the peanut butter aisle, which is what you thought about, which is the reason why you went to the grocery store to begin with. Why? To verify their technology. It's called verification. Without verification, mind control cannot exist. They have to verify the technology is working properly. If it's not working properly, they have to start all over again. They have to go back and increase or decrease the phase, frequency, and amplitude of the stream of electromagnetic low frequency waves that they're targeting your brain with. So spontaneity disrupts all that because it disrupts the pattern. And if the pattern was you going to the grocery store so they could verify their technology, and on your way to the grocery store, you suddenly pass the bank and say, I'm going to turn into that bank. You didn't think about it beforehand, you just suddenly did it. Speed of thought. You didn't plan to go to the bank, you planned to go to the grocery store, but you were spontaneous. As you passed the bank, you swerved into the bank. Okay? They couldn't predict that. You just defeated their technology. It doesn't matter that they know you're being spontaneous. You know that and they know that. What matters is the pattern is still broken. The pattern they were trying to develop and identify and remotely measure and integrate back into R&M data for the purpose of building a cognitive model of your brain just failed. They got to start all over with a new verification routine. Spontaneity, not just verification, not just multitasking, okay? Spontaneity is very effective. Be spontaneous every day, okay? Not speed, not short-term planning. I'm talking about not planning at all. Speed of thought, actions in your life. It's called spontaneity. It breaks the patterns they're trying to build each day to develop coherent patterns which they can use to build a cognitive model of your brain the supercomputer can use, okay? Another thing that's very effective is called redirection. Quenching. Let's talk about quenching. Quenching is basically being able to read active memory. I've talked about this before in my other videos, but I've never actually called it what it is. It's called quenching. Okay? And quenching is the ability of the targeted individual and mind control victim to test and validate memory in order to determine whether these powerful emotions and thoughts which he's having over and over again are real or artificial. In other words, where do these powerful emotions and thoughts come from? Why am I suddenly in a rage all the time? Why am I continuously thinking about this thing over and over and over again every 3 minutes, every 2 minutes, every minute, every 30 seconds? That's a pattern. That's not you, that's them. That's not. So you begin to test and validate memory. That's called reading active memory. Okay? And then once you're able to test and validate memory, you're able to determine what your normal memory and thought process is from their artificial impulse injections, motivational impulses. Okay? From their remote neural attacks. It's called quenching. Learning to read active memory. Okay? This technology is designed to target your active memory. When I say active memory, I mean short-term memory. Short-term memory is anything less than 30 seconds. Long-term memory is anything longer than 30 seconds. This technology is designed to target and manipulate your short-term memory. So, in order to pitch you in some type of action or access sequence for the purposes of verification, training, research, and development, etc. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about when I say quenching. Okay? You're able to quench for example, now they don't force you to do anything. They can, but that's not how this technology is designed to work. The technology is designed to mimic your normal cognitive behavior, okay? Your normal memory and thought process, to fool you, to make you become dependent upon the system. You become dependent upon the R&M system, the remote neural monitoring manipulation system, that supercomputer's output. That stream of electromagnetic frequency waves are constantly targeting your brain to manipulate your memory and thought process. That's the system's output. You become dependent upon that. Okay? But if you're able to read active memory, you're able to differentiate, to discern, to ascertain between what's real and what's artificial. How? By looking for patterns. If you're having the same obsessive and compulsive thoughts over and over again, every 30 seconds, every 60 seconds, every couple of minutes, etc. Okay? That's not you, that's them. That's a supercomputer attacking you. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say remote neural attacks. Okay, so quenching is basically one thing. Quenching is learning to test and validate memory, your short-term memory, in order to look for patterns. Because you can identify their remote neural attacks, their attacks on your remember this is fabricated falsified stream of energy. So fabricated, this is all anything. Whenever you think of something, it becomes a memory. Okay, the moment you think of it, it becomes a memory. Okay? Now, their short-term memory, long-term memory, and anything less than 30 seconds is your short-term memory. That's what they're targeting in order to manipulate your behavior, your composition habits, to obtain direct behavioral control over you. So, quenching, very effective. Just learn to test and validate memory. Look for patterns. If you keep thinking about something over and over, like going to the refrigerator and getting a Coke every 30 seconds, every 60 seconds, that's not you, that's them. That's a supercomputer. They don't care anything about Coca-Cola, okay? They care about their technology. And they use the organized thought in order to verify that technology. Engaging in street theater, engaging in situational and conversational scenarios that are based on events or topics that will capture your attention. So it's called quenching, learning to read active memory. Very effective defense to this technology. Another defense to this technology is called redirection. And redirection is basically establishing a working reference